Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still such trouble. He's touched on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the final round. Already, time definitely is flying for the Sim Racing Collective, second season of their F4 Sprint. Tonight takes us to our second trip to Germany this season. Of course, a couple of weeks ago, we took to Oschersleben, and today we take to the Slipstream Fest that is going to be the Hockenheimring. My name is Zach Sweeney with Dean Biggles alongside me in the commentary booth, watching along live, of course, on the JP Broadcasting YouTube channel, and of course, on the TSRC one as well. Dean, of course, the championship is wrapped up with Frank Porter-Ruiz winning it. Obviously a round ago when we took to Oran Park, but that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be without action here today. A lot to play for with the season ending on a bang.
Yeah, Karen could be looking pretty good to take that second step out there. Welcome everybody. We've got hello and hello out in the chat there from Billy Bob there and Sean. But unfortunately, Jamie is... Where is Jamie? Jamie's not here. So there's a few drivers here that are not in those potential places. So Kieran is looking pretty good here. He's got the points benefit, that's for sure, behind Frank.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, for those wondering where Frank Porter-Ruiz is today, of course, tonight, he's over, of course, racing in the French Formula 4 Championship that he's done. Of course, he's a real-life Formula 4 racer and definitely proving that success here today in this, or well, this season, I suppose, in the sim world. Of course, the Andorran has run away with the championship. He took 5 wins from rounds 3, 4, and 5. A couple of podiums as well, and basically has put himself in a position that he cannot be beat by Kieran Sharp, even if he was able to do the double and take both victories here this evening. Kieran Sharp as well with unparalleled consistency, barely ever off the podium. Every round that he's been classified for, you know, all apart from the drop round last week at Oran Park, he has been on the podium at least once. So he has had remarkable consistency. Could today be the day that he eventually takes the championship? Of course, you saw the rest of the championship standings and you can run yourself through them as well. No major dramas. I mean, there's quite a tight fight between Thomas Kahner and David Santamaria in the battle for fourth. There's only a point between them two. But apart from that, nothing really major. I think the main thing that we can take out of this, Biggles, is the fact that no, there's not a championship, but that also means there's nothing to lose. These drivers can go in here with a fresh slate and enjoy themselves for the final round of Season 2.
Yeah, yep, exactly. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Having some fun after the season and just try to maximize your efforts and go out with a high so that, you know, when you start the next season, you can be definitely motivated to. Let's have a look. Let's follow a driver, particularly if you want there for a second, as we do your usual hot lap guide with the man himself, Mr. Zachary.
Yeah, so the Hockenheimring, and you'll notice, because it caught me off guard as well, how we just completely missed the Mercedes Arena section. I was like, hang on, and it was confirmed we are on the outer layout. So we come off the Spitzke hairpin and just go straight down into the Mobile 1 curve. Of course, we'll run through the final couple of corners. And in a 4 cars, I have to say the Hockenheimring is sensational. I absolutely love this car track combination. Such high speed, such great flow, and in the race turns itself into almost an oval dynamic. Riding on board then with Kieran Sharp should be the one to aim for victory here this evening. Into turn number 1, just got to flick the car through. Be careful of track limits on the outer edge, and be careful as well of that curb as you run your way over. It is very raised and can bottom out the car. Into turn 2, it's all about the exit. Braking pretty much as soon as that curb starts on the left-hand side, down to second gear to get that rotation. Late-ish apex, but it's all about building up that throttle to take turn 3 flat, and now to build up the confidence as you run your way through the parabolica. Kieran Sharp has got the very ample opportunity of some slipstream from the car in front, albeit a very wide line going through the parabolica, but maybe just trying to follow the car in front as close as possible. Braking for the Spitz car, of course, no ABS in these Formula 4 cars, so you have got to be very careful. Maximise the engine braking as much as you can, brake in as straight as line as possible, and again, this exit, very important. You saw there, Kieran Sharp sort of elongate the braking zone as much as possible, take a nice sharp turn, and in fact actually he's backed off this lap, so that's all irrelevant anyway. But there we go, that was the first half lap of Hockenheim. But a very peculiar layout, of course, today, Beagles. We take out a good chunk of corners actually. How do you reckon it's going to change the dynamic of the race? Because it's going to open it up, as I say, to a very oval-like dynamic.
It will, as you saw that little section that you said has been removed at the moment. A lot of slipstreaming for sure, and overtaking opportunities, as we have the Dutchman has flied his way up to P1 currently at the moment, but 32.475 on the dial. But here's the slipstream effect right now, so that's going to be very interesting, as you mentioned there, Zach.
Yeah, it is. So, of course, with drag and things like that, when it's windy and things and you're trying to walk against the wind, of course it pushes you back, doesn't it? That's the same with F4 cars, or any car really. Anything that's punching a hole through the air, there's going to be drag, there's going to be resistance, and it's going to pull you back, make the engine work harder. If you've though got someone stood in front of you with a massive shield, boom, that's going to make things so much easier. They're going to part the air around them and give you a nice little pocket where things are so much easier, and that way you're able to close the gap, increase the speed relative to them, and that's why we see so many overtakes done when it comes to a very high-speed, slipstream-focused race. Bobby Moss, you can see how important it is to him. He is not letting that car ahead of him get away at all. He knows how important it is here, because you could well be, say, 2 or 3 tenths off the pace, but you can very easily make 4 or 5 tenths up by being in the slipstream. So the way off there is to very much make sure you are behind someone that you can trust is going to be quick.
There we go. Oh, that could have compromised him a little bit of time there. Got caught off guard there. Some drivers moved out of the way. He's only going to come around these 2 corners, which is crucial to get this one right, of course, and it's a double apex, so you spin it around here again. You can see they really do slice and dice it up on the corner, and then bang, complete another lap. Will he be able to improve? That's a thousandth of a second off. It doesn't look like it.
Yeah, not quite. Of course, that was a very slow lap for Bobby Moss, as we saw, but this could well be a better one. He is without slipstream, though, and that is going to already put him on the back foot. Regardless of how good of a lap this is, it's not going to be enough. Kieran Sharp tops the time in sheets by just 3/100ths of a second to top Viardi Rombout's 2 pole position. Now, with Frank Porte-Ruiz not here, he is in the chat. Hello, Frank. Hope your weekend going really, really well, or will go really well. Of course, let us know where you're racing, by the way, because I couldn't see on the calendar. So, where are you? Best of luck for you. Of course, Grant Miller going very well through the Sachs curve. But for Kieran Sharp, with Jamie Nuttall not here, with Frank Porte-Ruiz not here, surely the expectation is on Kieran Sharp to go and win.
Yeah, just get at least a podium results, and it's going to be perfectly fine for him. He's got to make sure you can bring that car home in one piece is the key. As we're just seeing at the moment that Grant Miller did improve a little bit. Did a few other drivers out there. Look, a lot of gaggle of cars currently at the moment down the backstretch, and Bobby Moss will be one of the first ones to cross the line there. In the red 5, Nigel Mansell special.
Yeah, very special livery, of course, in the world of single-seaters, in the world of motorsports, to be fair. Nigel Mansell also dabbling in some IndyCar in his times, and, well, just a renowned racing driver of the past. And it's always good to sort of reflect on the historic side of things. Look how far we've come. Look how far we've got to go as well. David Santamaria, of course, Frank Porte-Ruiz's teammate, puts himself up just 2/1000ths of a second off Kieran Sharp, and the top 4 separated by less than half of a tenth of a second. Now that is incredibly close.
Yeah, it looks like a couple of drivers just took an invalid lap there. We just saw that if the red circle appears on the track map around their driver number, then that will be an invalidated lap. And they need to get some times in there because they're running out of time right now, my friend. This is probably the last lap that most of the drivers are going to be able to get in at the moment. And the one up the road ahead of the pack is this man, Mr. Bobby. Oh, and that's not the way you're going to take the hairpin. And he's just going to have to wait. I might probably get a tow back at the moment because everybody else coming around behind him.
Yeah, that's going to be a session done as well because there's not enough time. For those unfamiliar with the world of iRacing, of course, it's not like F1 or ACC or Gran Turismo where when that checker flag falls, you know, you get to finish a lap. As soon as that timer ticks 10 minutes, session is done. NADA does not care if you are on the best lap of your life, doesn't care if you're about to smash the lap record by 4 seconds. It will just tick over into the next session. So timing is critical. Probably means that those that have on their lap now will probably get the opportunity to finish it. This man, however, right here, David Santamaria, only 0.02 of a second off pole position. He's going to complete his lap, so seems confident that he might be able to go for the improvement through the final couple of corners here at Sud Curve. It's all about keeping that minimum speed up, keeping that flow as well, keeping that car pinned on the run to the line. Is it enough for pole position on the final round? No, it is not. It's slower by a decent, about 1/10.5 of a second. Kieran Sharp rounds the final corner a little bit wide. That might well be an invalidation. I think it might well have been. He does not improve his pole position. Oh, no, he does, actually. He smashed it at the park. 111 ahead of David Santamaria. Hayden Miller as well, who is, well, funny story, right? He messaged me, being like, don't focus on me. I focus too much on the GTPs at Le Mans. I'm not good in this car. He just whacked it in P3.
There you go. Yeah, but, you know, the drivers tell you the opposite of what they want you to really do. We're going to get ready for our first heat, of course. And, well, you did saw that for the qualifying results, because we'll go over the qualifying result for you right now. Karen Smith on pole.
Yeah, they are that's the grid for race 1. Of course, the race results for race 1 will be flipped for the top 10 for race 2. But here's how they stand. Kieran Sharp ahead of David Santamaria. Hayden Miller apparently slow for Phoenix Racing ahead of Viardi Rombouts. Bobby Moss completes the top 5 ahead of Grant Miller, who's doing a sensational job. So both Millers inside the top 6. Simon Norton, Adam Burks keep each other company on row 4 ahead of Matt Smith and Will Ellis. Gareth Ronda, Josh Millington keep each other company on the 6th row of the field with a lonely Matt Axton in P13. He is on the grid, by the way. I just don't think he's showing up as he might not have set a time in the qualifying session. He is there, of course, the esteemed photographer that he is. There he is, Matt Acton Photography at P13. Going to take a nice slow start to this race, but to be fair, might not necessarily be a bad thing. What are we thinking then for the first 15 minutes of racing here this evening, Biggles?
You might say, I think probably a lot of slipstreaming, really. We'll have a look at that one. Karen Sharp, of course, on the pole. If you're David here at the moment and you want to seize an opportunity, try to get in early because you don't want Karen to get up the road there. And it's had a horrible start, actually. He's bogged down big time. Might even drop back to P4 by the time they get to turn 1.
Yeah, perfect start, of course, for Kieran Sharp. We are up and underway here at the Hockenheimring. Hayden Miller able to settle into 3rd place, but immediately on the attack of Viardi Rombout. Santamaria was swallowed up by the pack into turn 1. You can see the 81 machine of Miller trying to attack for P2 into turn 2. Is he going to be able to get that move done? I'm not entirely sure. They squirrel their way out of the traction zone. Kieran Sharp is home clear by over a second ahead of P2 of Viardi Rombouts, who is going to have to defend by the time they get to the Spitzke hairpin. It's absolute carnage. Multiple drivers being swallowed up at the start. Multiple drivers able to capitalise. We might well be able to run our way 3 wide into the braking zone.
Here we go. He wants it back, actually. Big time, realising he's making a mistake. He's going to send it up the inside here in the hairpin and get on the loud paddle as loud as possible. As you can see, Kieran Sharp way up the road right now by lap 1. And they're going to be a gaggle of cars coming down until we get it to turn 1 soon. Well, the final turns, my apologies.
Yeah, it's going to be crucial for Kieran Sharp to get away, but here we go. Hayden Miller outside line by the time they reach Mobile 1, and this is at a much higher speed than they usually would be approaching an already fast right-hander. These F4 cars, though, have got the agility to go side by side. The 81 machine, goodness me, what a move from Hayden Miller. Gives him the inside for the Sachs curve. He puts his way back up in a P3. Nicely done from the man that's not so confident in himself. That is a driver, I'm sure, that is going to be absolutely fine. But the up and under going into the penultimate corner was there for David Santamaria, but not enough. Kieran Sharp leads lap 1.
Switch back here. Trying it. Good battles. Oh, we've had a spin. Grant Miller's gone around. See if we get that live replay for you in a second. Yeah, just saw him drop off the leaderboard. We also had an earlier incident there with Ellis as well too, but we'll keep an eye on that replay in a second because we're going to see these two going for it because number 5 is alive. Bobby Moss setting up the inside. Oh, there's going to be maybe a little contact there, Zach.
Yeah, very close. Of course, these single seaters incredibly sensitive to contact. Got to be careful as well with netcode and things like that. But the two of them able to get away with it. You've got to as well be so careful battling once you're amongst a pack like this, because slipstream, as we've touched on, is so important that if you lose it, it's so much more difficult to get it back. Bobby Moss looking on the inside of the Spitzker hairpin. Heaviest braking zone on the circuit.
Oh.
Way too late on the brakes, though. Tries to send it in, locks up the front right, and make contact with David Santamaria. Of course, Bobby Moss is completely at fault for that incident, as we got side by side between the pair of them as they head their way towards Mobile 1. I'm not entirely sure either driver is going to be too happy about this.
Yeah, he thought it was last the late breakers on that one. Couldn't get it stuck. He locked the wheel up there, and of course nowhere to go there for David. But he's still hanging in there on that. Hopefully no damage. Of course, these are pretty durable machines. You can see the end plates and all that important bits are still attached, but he's certainly going to give it a shot. Why not? It's the last race of the season, as you know. And it's all about your points paying positions that you're going to be finishing as well, too. Karen's doing everything he needs to do currently at the moment, comfortably leading this race. But we're going to look at these replays in a second, my friend, and see what happened with the incidents, a few incidents that we have. So, Adam, this is that one I think that we didn't actually capture on the screen there. I don't know. You can probably predict this one happening. Oh, he's got turned.
Oh, Acton. Naughty, naughty. Wow. Well, we've caught that in 4K. I mean, it starts from Adam Bax going a little bit wide through turn 1. Let's see Grant Miller as well. P6 in qualifying and 2 wide at the final corner. I have done that so many times.
Oh, Kieran Sharp's
as
under
here
trouble.
comes Viliardi Rombouts and Hayden Miller. This is the fight for P2. So Kieran Sharp is safe, but in towards the Spitzker hairpin. Hayden Miller is going for P2 once again.
Oh. We'll have a look at the replay from the start too, so we'll see how bogged down that David got, but I wonder if they're dropping a little bit. Kieran Sharp's about just on a second, as you can see there. Just hovering on that. He needs to maintain that gap. No DRS. You would love, so that way you just pull them straight up on the straightaway, wouldn't you, and you catch them straight into the turn, but that's easy. That's Formula 1. These are real machines to drive here. Are they power steering, by the way?
I don't think so, these F4 cars. So the outside of sack skirt for Hayden Miller, it is going to be a tough one, but thankfully they're fairly light anyway, so it doesn't take too much. It's not like IndyCar, where they're a fairly heavy car relative and with no power steering. They are fairly light and you can get them through. All depends on their force feedback and things. If you've got a direct drive wheel, it will feel heavier than, say, if you're on a G29 or a Thrustmaster T150 or whatever, those entry-level style wheels. All depends on driver and things like that, how they've tweaked it. But yeah, they're all right. They can be quite heavy. Again, it all depends on the driver and their preferences. But nicely done from Hayden Miller to pick his way up into second. But this is the thing. These two have been squabbling over second place, and all it's done is allow Kieran Sharp to pull away over a second. You know, fair enough, there's no DRS, but slipstream only works from a certain distance back. Right, so Kieran Sharp has been feeling absolutely no pressure for the first third of this race, and I don't think he's going to be under pressure anytime soon, because Hayden Miller is once again having to go defensive.
And once again, he's actually going to be catching Grant Miller up the road there. You'll see. Oh, that wasn't a very good exit there for Kieran Sharp, because he's dropped half a second. And that hairpin. And that's costly, because now they're going to be sucked into that slipstream that you're mentioning right now. Now it's having a massive effect, because look, Hayden Miller is caught him now almost down to a 10th.
Yeah, that's lap traffic for you. That is going to close the gap right back in. 1, 2, and 3. Sharp from Miller from Rombout. 6 minutes in, 9 to go here for race 1 of 2 for the 6th round of the Sim Racing Collective F4 Sprint Championship. Through the final couple of corners to kickstart lap number 5, and Sharp, of course, showcasing what happens if you let traffic bite back. But he was able to build that gap once. I'm almost certain he might be able to do it again, particularly if they fight for second.
Got to put your head down. You can see there was a little flashing light as well too. So it was an off-track excursion, and as Josh Millington sets the fastest lap back there currently at the moment, P6. As he's back in the tailpipe of Mr. Moss is still there behind Mr. David, as Will Ellis has gone into pit road. I think he had actual damage. We might go back and look at the replay of that one, showing him off track there for a few seconds. No need to have pit stops, as you know, currently at the moment, but there's still battles brewing up, these two. Go back to lead for now. Or perhaps we're hanging this for a second.
They are going to go for the move. Bobby Moss is eyeing it up on the inside of Santa Maria. They've also got Josh Millington for company. Just in the background, you can see that, I don't know what, red, hot pink, kind of. It's that area of colour. It's a black front wing, I can tell you that much for almost certainty. He's in 6th, he's putting some pressure on. And there's the fight for the lead, by the way. We are on board with Hayden Miller, who is going for the race lead. Kieran Sharp searching for his first victory, and he goes wide into the Mobile 1 curve. He's gone in too deep. This is going to allow Hayden Miller a good look to the outside, and finally some pressure is being put on for P1. Up and under through Sachs curve into the final couple of corners. Hayden Miller might well give it a go. He's going to commit. Sharp gives him the space. But in the end, it is going to be Kieran Sharp that keeps the lead and kept his composure after what could have been a very, very costly mistake indeed.
And yes, absolutely fantastic. Kieran Sharp needs to get on this back marker as quickly. I was hoping they weren't going to be approaching that back marker whilst they were right into those corners, because that back marker, of course, being Grant Miller, you want to be getting out of the way. Millington sets the fastest lap again, so he's definitely in that three-way fight back there. And this isn't going to look at the extra cameras here, because look at this, the three-way fight up the road. Top of the timesheets right now, my friend, and then it's a three-way battle for 4th, 5th, and 6th.
Being spoilt for choice when it comes to this round. I always knew the Hockenheimring was going to deliver. I think actually the back markers are coming into Kieran Sharp's favour, because they're giving him the slipstream that negates the advantage, of course, of Viardi Rombouts. Of course, Kieran Sharp there as well under pressure. Viardi Rombouts going to be looking to the inside of Miller through the Spitzker hairpin. The 81 machine, of course, of Miller going to have to go to the outside. They are going to emerge, and this time on this longer straight towards the Mobile 1 curve, it's the driver that's tucked in behind Sharp that's going to get the advantage, and that, of course, is Hayden Miller, who is going to be able to eventually drag himself alongside and ahead of Viardi Rombouts, who, after a decent attempt, is going to have to tuck into situ. They're 1, 2, and 3, nose to tail once again, with less than half of this race to go. Santa Maria versus Millington for 4th.
I wonder if there's an overtake at the back here at the moment. Yes, it is. So Santiano's having a little bit of trouble there. Bobby Moss is just at the background of that battle. Josh Millington, we know this is quick because he's set multiple fast laps back to back. So he's like getting out of the way with that paint scheme. He's just said he can't really miss that red car, or red pinkish car. Back up to the lead, but here we go. Still, that lap car up the road there of Grant Miller. They're not catching him tooth and nail. So Grant Miller's still putting down some good lap times. But very soon he'll be about half a second a lap slower than this pack behind him.
Yeah, exactly. Fight for P2 as Rombouts looks to the outside. Of course, good to know that Grant Miller is the father of Hayden Miller. They have been working together. I think Grant has recently upgraded himself and Hayden's setup. But in the end, it does give way. I thought maybe Grant was going to try and give his son a little bit of slipstream or something to assist him. That wasn't the case. Through the parabolica, this long right-hander that leads you towards turn 6. Rombouts is going to go for the move for second. Is Sharp going to be under much pressure either? You can see Millington versus Santa Maria versus Moss as well. They're going to go 3 wide as the Nigel Mansell lookalike goes all the way to the inside through the Spitzker hairpin. This time keeps it under wraps but loses the momentum. Through the middle goes Josh Millington to keep 4th place. Nicely done as Rombouts versus Miller emerge once again out of the hairpin towards Mobile 1.
Yeah, this is great. We need this. We need this other pack behind to catch up. There's that 2 seconds and change down the road. You can see them. Oh, we have a spinner in the right in the background too in the final corner. But we do. Sorry, I keep saying it's final corner. It's not. But we do need this pack to catch up this other pack, because that way we can keep the cameras and make it a lot easier for our entertainment here to watch it on the JP Broadcaster Network, of course, simultaneously on the TSRC channel. I think there was a collision at the back there, so I'll quickly there for a second show that one. I think that was with Matt Smith, if I'm not mistaken. And Gareth? Be surprising. There. That's what we saw just in the corner of your pictures. At the background of your pictures before. But here we go. Getting down to crunch time, my friend. About 4 minutes and change left in the heat one.
And this is going to be the last couple of laps that really matter. For the last 11 minutes, fair enough, they've been closing up to Sharp and actually been in contention. But they've been swapping positions, and it hasn't really meant much, because the lap after, they just immediately swap back, and it's almost meaningless as to what track position you're in. But now, as we head towards the final couple of laps, it really is going to start to matter more and more. Kieran Sharp on the inside trying to defend his lead, takes it back from Miller. Rombouts as well tries to get the up and under as Bobby Moss tries to attack Santa Maria and Millington. I think they've also got a bit of lap traffic to contend with as well. They're still having to work their way through. Defensive goes Kieran Sharp. You can see looking backwards is Hayden Miller. He's looking very, very menacing as they run their way onto this straight towards Mobile 1. Are they going to go 3 wide? I think momentarily they are. Here comes Kieran Sharp on the inside. Viardi Rombach tries to go the long way around. Of course, there's Hayden Miller. Not quite enough of a look going into the Sachs curve, I don't think. But with 3 minutes left to go, probably looking at 2 more laps at the line. And this is where things start to heat up. It doesn't matter what lap you lead, as long as it's the last one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the one you want to get. And I'm sure Kieran Sharp is trying his absolute best to hold on to this one. Be almost winning this race would be guaranteeing him second in the championship. You would have to crunch those numbers on that, but you see the other drivers behind have not caught Grant Miller. So he's still holding on quite well. You can see just in the background, a lap down, but between these two groups of 3 cars battling each other, I think at the moment there, Josh may have set it up the inside here. No, for a second then, it looks like the door has been shut there by David. So that's the problem, isn't it? You stick your nose out, and James would say, like a plastic surgeon, you get it chopped off sometimes. And so if you're going to risk it for the biscuit, you've got to commit completely into your braking zone and get on the acceleration. Here we go. It looks like the top 2 at it again now. Kieran Sharp making a little bit of a mistake at the moment. Sorry, that's not him. That was our Flying Dutchman.
Yeah, Viardi Rombach's just a little bit wide, but it actually has worked out for him because he gets the acceleration off the hairpin with the slipstream, pulls out to the left-hand side. Of course, the Mobile 1 curve, you are approaching it at a much higher speed. It becomes a braking zone and becomes a very technical corner, particularly with the gravel trap on the outside, but he is going to give it a good go. The long way around for the 18, gets pushed to the curb, keeps his foot in even though he's skating through. Late on the brakes into this Sachs curve as we start the final lap very, very shortly. Viardi Rombach for the first time this race leads, but for how much longer? Kieran Sharp fights it through the S's towards the penultimate corner, and the 23 retains the lead, trying to take his maiden victory of the season with just 1 more race after this to go. We start the final lap here of race 1 here at the Hockenheimring, and the top 3 are close as ever.
Yep, here we go. It is exciting, gentlemen. There might only be a great deal of cars, of course, at the end of the season. However, these battles that we are seeing are absolutely brilliant on the first heat race. Sure, it's going to be even brilliant for the second too at the reverse grid. Look at that line of stands. It looks like you're watching AI cars driving around. That's how close and precise they are. But now, Karen, got to hold on tight here. And you don't want to get into a little tangle, do you? You're going to go from 1st to 10th because remember that other gaggle cars down the road there are only, give or take about 3 to 4 seconds off there. So you make a mistake here now, you've cost a win.
Yeah, 3 wide on the final lap, by the way. Kieran Sharp on the inside. He has not taken absolutely any chances. Hayden Miller, I think, actually doing the right thing, which is to take the back seat and try and drive his way past. But he's not got the exit off of the Spitzker hairpin to really contend. We've got 1 more sector left of this race, and look at the closing speed of the Flying Dutchman. Once again pulls out to the left hand side going into the Mobile 1 curve, and Kieran Sharp gives him no space to go on the inside. They both pull their way out to the left hand side, and Viardi Rombach is going to give it a good go, flies his way through into P1. Hayden Miller, as we watch on board with him into the Sachs curve. Kieran Sharp is going to commit to the long way round, but the banking on the inside might be too much to contend with. 2 more corners left to go. Kieran Sharp's opportunities might be running out, but he's going to send the move to the penultimate corner as they run their way to the checkered flag. But I think Viardi Rombach might have done it, but he's wide, and it's going to be a drag race to the line, but it is going to be the Flying Dutchman as the checkered flag flies here at the Hockenheimring. Viardi Rombach, for the first time this season, takes victory ahead of Kieran Sharp, who was ever so close from Hayden Miller in P3. That fight for 4th as well was absolutely sensational between Millington, Santamaria and Moss. And we get to do that all over again, plus 10 minutes for race 2, Biggles.
What an absolutely brilliant cracker of a finish. I'm sure Karen Sharp's like, damn it, done it. I just lost it towards in the dying lap, and you're also having a bit of fun here, smashing those cars up. I want to go back to the green flag there for a sec. Oh, cars on its roof too. Just to see that start. And of course, that bog down, see that right there, bang. It's horrible. You had to go somewhere as well too. Almost shut the door completely on our race leader, our race winner. As you see, Karen Sharp got a massive exit there, and yeah, that was quite interesting, really, for the start of the race. But as you said before, my friend, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And he finished leading the race, winning the race.
Exactly that. And as I say, it doesn't matter what lap you lead. You can not be leading 99% of the final lap as long as you cross the line first. It doesn't matter. You will be the one that takes the points. You will be the one to take the crown. And Viardi Rombach played that to perfection, waited for his opportunity, and with the bravery around the outside of Mobile One, was eventually able to take victory of the penultimate race of this season. Kieran Sharp, another podium for him. He's going to be looking for more in race 2. Hayden Miller completes the podium, again, from where he started in 3rd. Josh Millington ahead of David Santamaria and Bobby Moss, 4, 5, 6. And what a battle it was, almost reminiscent of that at the front. Matt Acton completes the top 7 after completely killing, I think it was Adam Burks through turn 1. But in the end, Adam Burks only finishing a place behind. Gareth Ronda and Will Ellis, the top 10 ahead of Grant Miller, Matt Smith and Simon Norton, who are all unfortunately suffered some difficulties throughout the duration of that race, finish a lap down, but none of them, interestingly, remarkably off the pace. The good thing about the Hockenheimring with the slipstream and things like that is that given an opportunity to, given the circumstance, any one of these drivers can be fighting at the front.
Yeah, exactly. We saw the incredible pace there from those drivers, and even as you saw with Grant Miller, there was a lap down, so forth. He was still putting up some good times, and it took him quite a bit to catch it, and even the rest of the pack couldn't catch him towards the end there. So if you can stay within that slipstream of those cars, it works granted very, very well for you. Once again, let's have a look at those championships while they're in a little bit of a warm-up and see how much that would really change if you're crunching some math in your head right now. Nothing at all.
It wouldn't. David Santamaria, of course, Thomas Carnett isn't here, so he'd go up to 4th. Porto Ruiz has won the championship. Sharp Nuttall isn't here, so again, Nuttall stays where he is. Couple of movements. I mean, Hayden Miller gained some places on James O'Reilly with a P3, so again, pips him for P6. Bobby Moss stays where he is. It's all just few and far between, really. I don't think there are many dramas. Viardi Rombout's picking up a couple of places extra with his win, of course, maybe ahead of Matt Acton and Van Hoot. But apart from that, again, nothing major going into race 2 and the final round of the season, of course, for the second one of the Sim Racing Collective F4 Sprint. This time, though, with a pit stop, they haven't got enough fuel to get to the end, and that's going to be interesting, similar to sort of a NASCAR race or any oval race, really, where slipstream is so important. When you come into the pit lane, you are relinquishing that privilege of slipstream, of a tow, and it can become so much more difficult to time pit stops and things. Even if they don't have to take tyres, merely coming in for fuel can make or break a race.
I just want to have a look at this at the moment here for the radar. Oops, showing the radar pop out. I need to get rid of that. But have a look at that weather. This is for our Heat 2, of course, our feature race. See those clouds start to creep in? Sorry, I don't have a better way to actually show this. This is just what iRacing is indicating. But you can see that rain, look at that. You're getting up as overcast and probably about almost 80% chance of rain coming. So will it come in time? And will it even rain to be effective for the second feature race? I don't know. It'd be very exciting, wouldn't it? We would want it. I'm sure the drivers, some of them might not want it, but hey, who knows?
It'd be an adjustment to make, for sure. Obviously, with how high speed this layout of the Hockenheimring is, I don't know how much they'd appreciate it. As well, that's probably what would happen. That's Matt Acton showcasing why he's
on wet
firmly a photographer.
That's why.
Yeah, well, yeah, fair enough. But there's a reason that he's in the yellow and black stripes.
Yeah.
I rent him. He's a lovely bloke, really. It's just become sort of a meme amongst sort of the TSRC to just rinse into him as much as we can. There was even a point on the PCGT3 series that me and Kelsey do, where we'd have a segment called the Factons, which is obviously Matt Acton's facts, and it'd just be the most random malarkey that you could think of, and we'd just dub it to him. But he's a remarkable photographer. You should definitely go check him out on Instagram and things. He really gets in amongst the paddocks, GB3, GB4, British GT. He does everything, and he is remarkable at what he does. He's very, very good, and albeit with no hair. So of course he is always wearing a hat, but his camera skills are remarkable. You are right though about those clouds. It does look very dauntingly overcast.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Are you picking on bald people, my friend?
I'm just saying.
I lost my hair many years ago, my friend. So, you know.
Just saying.
You got to protect your head. Well, I mean, it's Australia, my friend. You got to do that for sure. Otherwise, you can say, "Oh, it's raining! It's raining!" You called it, my friend, right there. Look at that. That came super quick. Let's go back to the iRacing radar again.
Question is, though, does this carry over into the race? Because
I don't
we're in
know,
warm-up
yeah.
at the minute.
Yeah, that's true.
Is it a continuous session where it just goes quali, warm-up,
should
race
be.
all in one time frame, or is it separate? I don't know.
Look how it changed to
I don't know.
100% participation there now. Well, because you see that came in super quick. Of course, it's accelerated time more. That's very, very interesting. I hope it does. This is really, really gonna. We saw this before, didn't we? With one of the races, like they got to make a decision. It's not wet enough to change anything. Got to start on dry tires. Anyway, let's have a look at the grid. We'll find out.
Of course, top 10 reverse based on the finishing order of race 1, and they are going to want to adapt as quickly as possible with the wet weather incoming. Will Ellis from Gareth Ronda, the front row. Adam Burks and Matt Acton keep each other company on row 2, ahead of Bobby Moss. Look out for him as he ascends himself to the top. David Santamaria ahead of Josh Millington and Hayden Miller, who rounds off row 4. Kieran Sharp, he's going to be looking for victory. No better time than the final opportunity of the season. Vianney Rombout completes the top 10 after a sensational victory in race 1, ahead of Grant Miller, Matt Smith and Simon Norton, the 13th and final car ahead of race 2 here at the Hockenheimring. Of course, we'll go to the lights as soon as we can. There they are. What type of start are we looking at here at the Hockenheimring? What's in store for the 12th and final race of Season 2? Ellis and Ronda, the front row. We are underway, and it's a very poor start. Goodness me, already off into the grass trap. And there is the spray, a very wet and a very tentative start then for race number 2. Matt Acton already up in a second place and potentially fighting for the lead. It's going to be a huge adaptation from what they're familiar with in race 1, and they've got to acclimatise themselves as soon as possible. But Matt Acton leads a race.
Yeah, here we go. Good on him. Absolutely. Not only just taking photos of it at the moment, he's actually driving it. And that's tricky conditions, as you'd mentioned there, because all of a sudden your braking that you'd be doing in the Heat 1 is changing a little bit with that weather coming in, creeping in, but it's inter-territory, of course, and he got full wets and dries. Speaking of which, Will Ellis and Grant Miller at the very back at the moment, they are on full wets.
Well, yeah, I'd say with any standing water, really, it's going to be better to go with treaded tyres. But again, it depends how much it's going to continue to get worse. Of course, they are going to settle themselves in. Look how similar this is to NASCAR. 3 rows of 2 running into the Mobile 1 right-hander, of course, at the back end of the circuit. Who's going to be bravest on the brakes? Bobby Moss finds his way through, but what a move that could well be in the wet as well, nonetheless, from the Andorran of David Santamaria. He is through. Take a bow, son, and he marches his way up in a second place. Let's track the progress as well of our race leaders, of course, of Sharp and Rombouts. They're up in a 7th and 8th place, respectively. Hayden Miller up in a 6th. So not a bad start from our front-running contenders either. But so far, so good for Matt Acton.
And look at the sprays only coming out on some sides of the tyres, and not all of them, as it's only a little bit of water that's on the track, of course. You can see that the rain is quite light. And we know that these cars are very much capable of handling these conditions. Whilst it's drizzling, typical London weather really here in Germany at the moment.
Very trinkly though, and let's see if it's going to get worse or stay the same or even get better. But at the moment, doesn't look to be any signs of anything. Seems to just be as is for the time being, but plenty of time for things to change. Into turn 6, of course, the Spitzker hairpin. That's Hayden Miller trying to pick his way past Gareth Ronda, who's already down 3. Miller's going to be looking to make it 4, but you've got to be so careful braking offline in the wet, and you saw how much that car pushed on. Kieran Sharp was then immediately able to take advantage of it, but weaving around that fight for the lead, Acton is going to be under pressure.
Yeah, it's weaving to break their slipstream, of course, and that's what you're going to see in IndyCar as well. We don't see that in NASCAR, of course. That's too much. You're going to get it, but you can't really be weaving around because it's usually side by side drafting, front drafting, bump drafting, everything drafting. Ooh, well, once again, this gets tricky, doesn't it? Because you've still got to trust the little bit of rain, the temperature. Of course, I want to pull up that in a second to see how much that is changing. We know that the wind's probably died down completely. Yeah, it's 20 kilometers now. It's not too bad. I think it was a little bit more. But you see the participation might start drying up now, which means those drivers that did go out in those wet weather tyres are suffering big time. They're doing 51 and 2-minute laps almost at the back there. William Ellis here and Grant Miller. And I imagine this thing is not very easy to drive right now.
No, I'd imagine not. It's tricky conditions, of course, understandably. Tricky cars, of course, no assist, no traction control, no ABS, nothing of that. Very raw cars are the Dallara F4s that are in. Of course, iRacing officially announced as FIA F4 machines, so no longer is just like fixed F4 or whatever. They are confirmed as official licensed Formula 4 cars. Hayden Miller on the inside of Josh Millington. That's the fight for 4th place as he finds his way through, but the up and under could well be there from Millington. I don't think it is going to be, though, as they all settle their way through. Doesn't look to be too bad, though. Little pockets of rain here and there. Maybe just some slight adjustments that need to be done in the rain. I've never done it in iRacing. Maybe I need to, stop being so stingy, fork out and give it a go, because I do love the F4 car. And wet weather is always a different challenge to tackle. Really brings out the good in a driver and separates the good from the great.
Yeah, exactly. I remember Ayrton Senna and stuff like that back in the days would just come alive because he's Brazilian. I think it also really comes up to play as to where you live, actually, where you raced and go-karting and all the Formula series too, because somewhere like Australia, my friend, you probably don't have that wet weather experience that you have, and we have drivers going in pit road.
Into the pits. So I'm assuming this is off of slicks and onto wets.
I think it's too soon for sure, right? I mean, it's not that wet enough. I don't know. We'll find out.
But it's raining. Because you said it was Ellis. Well, who was it on slicks? I can't actually
Will
see
Ellis
who was on
and
slicks.
Grant Miller. Well, sorry, on wets.
So they started on wets. The others all started on slicks. Let's see what they change onto. I'd assume it's going to be going onto some treaded wet tyres.
Oh, they're going wets, yeah.
As Acton, yeah, there we go. So the standing water is deemed enough to warrant some tread. Of course, the groove's similar to that on your road car, trying to disperse of all the water they can, so they can sort of have as much of a contact patch with the road. Because at the moment on slicks, it's track and then a layer of water and then the tyre. They want to get rid of that water so they can have the nice grippy bit that is the track. Because no one likes to, drive on water. That's just impractical, to say the least. So you want to get rid of it and have as much of a contact patch as possible. That is what the treaded tyre allows for you. But like you say, with drivers and things like that, where they're adapted to, British drivers are really, really good on slicks in the wet, because that's how we practice. Yeah. Karting drivers in the UK will purposefully, on a very wet track, go out on slicks so they can understand how the car behaves and how it reacts under brakes, so that when they go onto wet tyres, they're already quick. They're already straight up to it. They know how the cart's going to react, and this, that, and the other. You go into Europe, Spanish drivers and French and German drivers that are used to more warm climates, they're really good when things get really hot, as Hayden Miller picks his way into the Mobil 1 curve, and they're really good at looking after their tyres. However, Acton is going all the way around the outside into Sachs curve. Millington is off as they adjust to the wet weathered tyres. Nicely done from Acton to keep hold of 8th place. But yeah, Spanish drivers and things like that, European drivers, really good at managing tyre temps because they're used to pushing in hotter temps, and that's where they beat the British drivers. But then the British drivers get them back when it's colder and when it's, wet and stuff. So it really does sort of almost depend as to where you've been brought up, as to where your main attributes are going to lie. But for now, Santa Maria, Bobby Moss and Kieran Sharp all confident on the slicks.
Yes, you're confirmed. You can see that on your track, on your telemetry information up there at the moment. And they're staying out as long as they can, because you've got to understand, I'm just trying to get first lap times that are coming in at the moment. Seems to be 34s, give or take, on the drivers. I mean, of course, you have our Flying Dutchman at the moment. He is leading up there. Essentially, the gentlemen have been in and out of pit road. As we're going to back up to this action here between Kieran Sharp, the boss man, and Bobby Moss. Will Kieran Sharp get past? It'll be 7 positions gained. Remember, he had to start from second last on the grid. Well, not second last, but of the reverse top 10.
Yeah, P9. Yeah. He was able to start, which is 5th last, if we're counting from the 13 drivers, but seems to be coping okay with the slicks. But obviously, as the rain comes down, you'll see them adjust to, again, more karting lines. The rubber that's laid down on the racing line is slippery, so they'll take the outside, which is usually less touched by cars. There's less rubber put down, and it's a cleaner run through. That's where you can find some grip if you're on slicks. But at the end of the day, if it gets too wet, you are eventually going to need to come in. I think these drivers are trying to hold out for the pit window of fuel to come into effect so they can stop without having to stop again. But goodness me, what a start from Bobby Moss.
Yeah, exactly. I was just having a look at that. That's what's catching the drivers off, because remember, even up this helicopter camera here at the moment doesn't really show you that it is raining. I was just having a look at the race start. You can see the spray there now. Oh, remember the helicopter cam we had when it was bucketing down rain one time? We couldn't even see the cars on the track. Hey, we'll go back to live action because it looks like Adam's gone onto pit road now. And he's elected to go on the wets. So everybody is going onto the wets that are going down to pit road. Of course, our top 5 drivers, as you can see currently at the moment on the dries, they have not gone to pit road yet. So they continue. And there's something in the chat there too about Santa Maria. Push, push, push. He's driving like karting with water. There you go. He's got a fan club out there. Thank you much for tuning in. And keep those comments flying. I'm sure he can hear your comments relayed to his team radio to keep his motivation up.
And look at that, that is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. You can see usually in the dry through the Sachs curve, it's really cambered on the inside. And so it's understandable that you'd want to aim for it to rotate the car. But naturally, he went in a little bit later than normal to try and take a more outside line because there's still camber there and it's a cleaner part of the circuit. So he goes in, takes a sharper line straight into the car out so he can get the traction more so in the wet, and he is dancing that car around. It is phenomenal stuff from Santa Maria and proving the adaptability. Bobby Moss, though, able to find his way through as that is Kieran Sharp. Similar to sort of what we saw in Formula 1 at Hockenheim in 2019 with that run of, I think it's the drag strip they use here at the Hockenheimring, where it's just loaded with rubber. And when it gets wet, it gets really slippery. I think more so just the fact that once the car had lost grip, he was just pushing on and on and on. And in doing so, has lost a decent chunk of time. Still 3rd place, but still having to come into the pit lane.
Oh,
Josh Millington fighting with
boom.
goodness me and into the side of Burks. A similar mistake to that we saw in race 1 and one that happened all too many times here at the Hockenheimring.
Well, there we go. There's my commentator's curse for you right now, isn't it? Or commentator's coincidence that we talk about because I managed to go on board. I wanted to go on board because he was catching pretty drastically Hayden up the road there. But, oh, somebody's also gone off in the background as well too. Can't quite see who that was. That's interesting. Oh, it's Adam. He's actually gone into... He's towed. Let's have a look. Adam's gone off in the background there. Oh no, this was the collision, of course, that you saw, and then sorry, that's Adam. I don't know who else went off in the background. I'm a little confused on that one. Was it here? Spinaroo? The final corner? Yep, there it is. Got it. Found it.
Side by side here as well. This is Matt Acton versus Hayden Miller. So Hayden Miller, of course, P3 in race 1. Matt Acton showcasing some really good pace in race 2 when it comes to adapting to the wet conditions. A little bit wide though through the Merble 1 curve, and once again just able to keep it under wraps. And there you go, look into the inside of the Sachs curve, and that's what happens when you try and put the power down. It loops round and the car bites back. He's able to rejoin, but with a bruised ego, and unfortunately, that is not one for the memory album for Matt Acton. He rejoins in 8th place, and yeah, not going to be the day that he would have wanted with so much potential. Adam Burks is in as well, as too is Grant Miller, but they're not really in contest. We are approaching the half-distance mark. There is Vianney Rombout, our race 1 winner. He is the leader of those that are on the wet compound tyre. It must be said, there doesn't seem to be too big of a pace difference between the wets and the dries.
Not now, no. Because they're doing 34s, right? The fastest of the wet weather tyres are doing 34 flat. Now they're doing 30, anyway, David's doing 33 mids, 33 and a half. He's so much quicker than the rest of the field. But the 34s, give or take, they're getting to that crossover point right now. Whereas before, they were down to about the 32s when it was drier. So they're starting to lose a second or so a lap. Remember, they were doing 31s in the full dries and at heat 1.
Yeah, so interestingly, actually, I've just looked at the final, the last laps. Rombouts was a 40.1. David Santamaria is just a 36.0, so they are getting slower and slower. But I think the crossover point was a little bit too early for these guys to come in for wet weather tyres. Hayden Miller looks to go to the outside of Rombouts, but is unable to. And really, these guys want to be working with each other as best they can. But in fact, it's going to be Miller that tries to go to the outside through the Sachs curve, carry that momentum through and puts the power down. That is a wet line if I've ever seen one. What a move this could well be from Hayden Miller. Goodness me, sensational stuff as he blinks his way back into existence, this time though into P6. Nicely done, great commitment and great racing despite tricky conditions.
Absolutely brilliant. Yep, I love that. We got to see this for the final race of the season. Let's have a look. We're going to go to the cockpit view, of course, and see how much that spray is really affecting the Flying Dutchman. Once again, he should also be pretty good in the wet weather. You know, the typical Dutch coast. You get this sort of drizzle and all that sort of stuff that we were talking about earlier. And this is obviously with the wet weather tyres, as you can see, the grooves into the compound. Almost like the Formula 1 you just had deliberately put. Oh, there you go. And that's a power slide, unfortunately, from Hayden Miller. Struggling. When she put that power down, as you mentioned, isn't it? The rears just light up and bingo, you're around.
Yep. And at some point, it just gets to a point of no return where the car's gone, the slip angle's too much, and there's not much you can do to save it. It's such a fine margin. Already twitchy coming out of 2, over the curb through 3, and I think that was his demise. Very slippery are the curbs, and around he went. Of course, he's been driving too many prototypes in the run-up to Le Mans, yeah, has been not too well versed in the form of the F4 machine. As well, I think that might well be the proof. Albeit, to be fair, he's not been off the pace. He's been quite quick, fairly consistent, but maybe not to the standard that he would have liked to coming into this final round. Not doing a bad job whatsoever, though. 10 minutes just about left to go as we approach the 15-minute mark. David Santamaria is still leading the way, still, by the way, on slick compound tyres, ahead of Bobby Moss, Kieran Sharp, Simon Norton, and Gareth Ronda, the top 5. I do think that staying on slicks has been the better decision. It doesn't seem like they're losing too much pace, and when they come into the pit lane, it is going to be the only pit stop they have to make. I think they're just holding out as long as they possibly can in hopes that the rain either crosses over into wets or starts to let off so they're confident they can stay on the slicks. In comes Hayden Miller, though. What tyres is he going to go on for? And I think this is for fuel. He stops, he's onto the jacks. Is he going to swap back onto... He is.
Dries.
He's back onto the slicks.
Yep, exactly. I would too, because it's clear at the moment, and the rain's still coming down lightly, but it's clear that the pace is there. It's not enough for the wet tyres just yet, because you could see our race leader here. Last lap 35, late 35s. Remember, these drivers they're in 43s and 50 territory in the full wets. So... you're talking a chunk of time, my friend. Absolutely. And look how comfortable and smooth he's driving around these conditions, too. I was going to go into the cockpit for a second and just see that he's just not struggling with the grip like the wet weather tyres are. Look at that. So comfortable. It's like on rails.
Yeah, it is. And he's just being calm, collective, keeping the revs in a manageable range. Obviously, it's to not load up the rears. Of course, similar to that of a push bike as such, the lower gear you're in, the easier it is to spin the wheels, right? And the faster they spin, the more likely they are to break traction. Whereas if you keep it in a higher gear, it's harder for the engine to push the wheels around, which means the wheels rotation themselves are going to be kept fairly low, which means the risk of losing traction is less, which is why you'll see short shifting in the wet. However, lifting the entire car up like that, not going to be doing any good for your traction. But David Santamaria has picked his way back through. I think that's Matt Acton he's just lapped. Indeed it is. Yes. So proving that the slicks were the way to go in this race. What a peculiar one it's turning itself out to be. Acton, of course, not a slow driver by any means, but let's just look through Mobile 1. And it just seems that David Santamaria is so much more comfortable on the slicks.
Yep, you can see him here now. He's going out and wide there. You can see whereas Matt could go up at the inside a little bit more because it is slippery there. But David can afford to take that extra racing line. We did see another driver head back into pit road. That's our Flying Dutchman. So here it is. They've taken 2 pit stops now. They've jumped a whole bunch of times. You can see they're 42nd. Here we go. Our race leader's in. So this will be crucial to see. What does he do? I mean, he's comfortably very quick on the slicks. So you're going to have to stay with that, wouldn't you?
I think you'd have to commit. With what you've seen, worst case scenario, I mean, he's put a lap on most of the field, so he can come back in. But yeah, he just keeps his tyres on and goes again. He's fine with it. Kieran Sharp as well follows suit. I don't think he's going to be going for his first race win of the season. His golden opportunity, I think, was in race 1, and that ship firmly has sailed. Simon Norton comes in as well. He could be on for a fantastic result given the circumstance, purely because he didn't come in for the wet weather tyres, and this is the confusion that happens. And because everyone is so unfamiliar with the wet weather in iRacing, be it fairly newish, only a couple of months it's been out, they've not maybe necessarily experienced a situation like this. Now, of course, this is a golden opportunity for them to learn. They can then start to adjust to the crossover points when things are quicker and stuff. But those that trusted their gut and stayed with it have definitely reaped the rewards, because, well, David Santamaria is 8 seconds clear of the field, and anyone that pit for the wets early on are absolutely nowhere near him.
Matt Smith just came back in and out, I believe, for his third. Oh, sorry, it wasn't his pit stop. Sorry, my apologies. It's showing him only as one pit stop there, but I just thought he went back in to put wet weather tyres back on. But maybe some drivers are electing, hey, it's the final race of the season. I've got no chances of changing anything with the points. But then we have a little bit of a switcheroo at the moment. It's happened between these two drivers. And Hayden Miller, of course, and our Dutch Flying Dutchman. And they are on dry tyres together. Bobby Moss has come in finally, so he's the last one to head down pit road. I would assume that he would be going on to dry tyres. I'll show you up in a second. I'm going to keep an eye on this battle for now.
That's Hayden Miller on the outside, of course, of Viardi Rombouts. These two fighting for the lead in race 1. I think P6 might well be the best either of them are going to get for race 2. Ducking and diving, though, Viardi Rombouts defends the inside. And, of course, Hayden Miller trying to go the long way around. These two came to blows a couple of moments ago with Miller's sensational move around the outside of Sachs Curve. He might be trying to replicate it going into Mobile 1. The 81, of course, on the right-hand side of your screen is going to give it a go. And there's contact. Goodness me. He's completely thrown both himself and Viardi Rombouts off the circuit. What on earth has happened there? Hayden Miller, yet another mistake with some really good pace on those slicks. Has thrown it all away by going into the rear end of Viardi Rombouts, and there is no way you can attribute any of the blame to the Flying Dutchman, but unfortunate nonetheless. Just tried to go for the up and under, and oh, there was a car there.
Almost reversed back in to take him out as well too, but so Wombats has to, he's got to drop a place there. Now I think they still had enough gap. But, imagine how difficult those dry tyres are in these conditions and picked up all that dust and everything. And just got to be very, very careful not to go for a spin right now. We're looking at the replay. Yeah, you got to get all that muck off your tyres. Look at that. That's back to live pitches, and he was fishtailing like mad out of that one. But back to this one. Karen Sharp now. Bobby Moss. So Karen Sharp, get about. Oh, Bobby's made a mistake. Oh, I've got the commentator coincidence is happening too for now right now off the cameras.
Again, coincidence. It's fine.
Oh, Hayden Miller's let. I'm not sure if that was a lift and let him through there and said my bad.
I think it might well have been. Of course, I don't think there's going to be too much consolation to the former Viardi Rombouts, but then again, neither of them are going to be contending for much more in this race, with just 3.5 minutes left to go of it. But I can kind of understand drivers sort of giving themselves a penalty, but at the end of the day, I still think stewards are well within their right to still penalise them as such. But yeah, it's a nice gesture by Hayden Miller, of course, as he fields Lando Norris's helmet actually as we're riding on board with him. Oh, yeah. But yeah, not the best of moments for him as Viardi Rombouts goes wide and Hayden Miller nearly follows suit and snaps the car back into check. Of course, that is a little bit of lap traffic they are contending with. It's not full position. These two, the closest battle on track, and it's for P6.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting because that car's not moving completely. It is moving completely out of the way. They're getting off there and the racing line. Oh, that was a deliberate a mistake, or like actually it was a mistake rather than just a lift. Here's one for you out there. That big oil. Is it a big oil can? Can? It's not can. That big plastic container there for the sponsors. You can see that fishtailing too for now. As these drivers, of course, are on dry tyres. How many gallons of oil would fit in that container? You know what it is? The one on the grandstands. The big orange container that's on the grandstands. That's a little bit of trivia. Josh Millington going in. Is he going to change tyres? Looks like it. No, he's back on wets. I was just curious if he was going to try to steal the fastest lap or something like that. in the dying stages. But back to this battle. Who's Lando Norris? Has he ever won a Grand Prix before? Oh, wait. Spoiler alert. He finally has.
Yeah, took him long enough. 110 races, I think it was, and eventually was able to take victory. Hayden Miller, though, hasn't this season of the TSRC F4, but maybe next season, season 3, could well be his time. He's been adjusting to new equipment, been driving a multitude of different cars, and has still been at front running pace, particularly in the last couple of rounds after success in Oran Park. And oh my goodness me, Rombout's able to keep the car just under wraps as Hayden Miller contends, I think. We are on the penultimate lap of this race, or they will be going on to the penultimate lap of this race. All depends on what Santa Maria is doing out in front. I have to say, with how much spray is being kicked up, I am surprised the slicks are still quicker.
Yeah, I know. You're right. Exactly, isn't it? I mean, maybe this is just some of the drivers don't like the conditions as well as the mastermind himself. So Santa Maria just driving away after this one. Kieran Sharp, now he got past. He's got a good gap there to Bobby Moss. Poor Kieran Sharp, isn't it? Like, even he got 7 positions gained in this race, he just can't get the race win. He will take second in the championship, but that race win's just evading him all season long. A little bit frustrating. Of course, we'll chat to him in a little bit. And these two are going to get it for 2 for now. That may have been Hayden Miller's last chance, but then again, you'd think the dry it would be, but considering how they're fishtailing out of those corners, got to stick with it. There's our race leader currently at the moment on the final lap, I believe, there. Mr. Zachary.
Yeah, we got 20 seconds left to go. He has just started the final lap. He's on lap 15. So this is the penultimate lap for these guys right here. But there is David Santamaria on his final tour of the Hockenheimring for what will be, again, another maiden victory this season. The drivers to do it have been Jamie Nuttall with a double win at Snetterton. Jack Southfield was able to take the double at round 2 at Sebring. And since then, it's either been Frank Porter Ruiz or Jamie Nuttall that have been winning the races. None of them have been won by anyone outside the top 3 in the championship until we got to today with Viardi Rombouts taking the victory. Santa Maria going to make it 2 for 2.
And he's got these cars up the road here to deal with, but I don't know. He's lifting. It looks like he lifted a little bit, if I'm not mistaken. Or is he still putting the power down there? Because he's just not going to want to get a tangle off these essentially 2 lap cars. Yeah, only got to navigate these couple of corners. Look at that. Still smooth, calm, and collected. It just takes it in case there's a wide line out the outside here. No, it cuts it in. So, that's probably the reason why you don't do that, my friend, because we saw him take that on the outside line, as somebody mentioned in the chat too earlier too, that there's going to be some interesting different racing lines, but he doesn't need to worry about it right now. Just don't collide up the road with the photographer.
Yeah, and here he comes around the final corner, and what a race it's been for David Santamaria. He crosses the checker flag. Matt Acton pulls it out just to not serve an extra lap, but David Santamaria, what a race on slick tyres to nurse it home, and what a pace he's shown. Kieran Sharp, well, what could have been, it's more of the same for Kieran Sharp. 2 P2s this evening. Bobby Moss rounds the podium. Definitely a drive reminiscent of that of his livery. Simon Norton, what a result for P4 as well. Sensational driving from the 79 machine. David Santamaria, though, nothing can be taken away from him. That was everything you'd expect from a fantastic wet weather drive and a little bit more. He dealt with that with calm, composure, maturity, and, of course, speed throughout. Rombouts versus Miller as well. This fight for 6th has definitely not been boring between these two.
No, I think at this point at the moment that the Rombouts just needs to get on. They don't get too greedy on the gas pedal out of these final corners, and he should be good to go. Don't get too wide, of course, out of the corner on that one, because you could see that drag strip run to the end there. You see both tweaking, both fishtailing, but it should be enough to hold on to that position there, and he will just get the edge on Hayden Miller. So great battle between them, but yes, take away from this man, isn't it? You're a digger, you burnouts there. You've done it. Absolutely domination. In fact, everybody is. This is the last race of the season. Tyres are non-refundable and non-returnable, so burn them.
Exactly that. Of course, we'll run you through the final finishing order as soon as we can, then we'll have a chat with some of the drivers that, want to come and speak with us. But there they are. David Santamaria wins the final round of the Sim Racing Collective F4 Sprint Championship. Season 2 is complete ahead of Kieran Sharp. 2 P2s this evening, P2 in the championship. all the seconds for Kieran Sharp, unfortunately, this season, and his driver number exactly that, P2 and P3, because he's never been able to score any higher than that. Bobby Moss in P3 completes the podium ahead of Simon Norton and Gareth Ronda at the top 5. Viardi Rumbouts race win in race 1. A poor decision going on to the wets early on sees him only 6th. Hayden Miller just in behind ahead of Matt Acton, who despite a couple of mistakes showcased some early speed and even an early lead in race 2. Adam Burks, Grant Miller completes the top 10 ahead of Josh Millington, Matt Smith and Will Ellis. What we'll do then is drag in a couple of our races. Of course, we'll start, I think, with, of course, Hayden Miller. Hayden, first of all, welcome in. Hello, how are you doing? And you told me you were slow this evening, and then you go and smash it out of the park with P3 in qualifying and P3 in race 1.
Oh, well, obviously lack of practice as usual for some of these events, but yeah, I noticed on Garage 61 that with the the times Kieran Sharp was doing was a lot faster than me down the straight, so decided to copy his weather conditions and just something about it. I was instantly into the 131s, but yeah, this track temp was a bit higher or higher than ideal in these races and practice sessions, so just couldn't get the performance out of the car that I'd wished for.
But talking to us about race 2, because obviously very awkward conditions. Of course, you amongst a number of others came in for wets. At what point did you realise that was the wrong decision? And really, what made the slick so quick? Because it looked to be fairly wet out there.
It may have looked wet on the broadcast, but out there, you could see the raindrop, but you could. It was also still quite grippy. But as soon as I seen it to like 4% precipitation, I was like, I'm just gonna call it in now. Went to the wets and then instantly coming into turn 2, realized that was kind of a mistake. But yeah, just had to power through it, see if you can get some wet lines through. But just it was locking up. It was not the most ideal track conditions. It was kind of in between slicks and wets, so decided to be. I said to myself, well, I'm too far back to contend for the top 3, top 5. So I decided to go into slicks, and yeah, that it was night and day. It's just you wouldn't expect when it was raining like that the slicks would be in favour, but it's just that's just how it is.
And reflect to us about your season as a whole as well. I remember you sort of mentioning new equipment and things throughout the season and your adjustments, obviously, with you and your dad as well out on track. What sort of learning curves have you faced, and what will you take forward with you going into future seasons?
Oh, that's a difficult question.
We won't talk about the crash as well that we just seen. Of course, you going into back of Viardi Rumbouts. That was also an awkward one. But yeah, talk to us about your learning curves, of course.
The learning curves is when I first stepped into the F4, I knew it was going to be it's a fast, simple car to drive, but if you treat it wrong, it'll treat you wrong back. So it's a 50-50 on how you treat the car, but my learning curve was at the start. I was a bit too aggressive with the car, so the major learning thing that I had to go through was becoming smoother on the throttle and braking and the steering. So it's just all about getting one factor of getting the car right at a time, and then once you think you've got them all together, you kind of just kind of goes into one, and you end up going quite faster in some of these tracks.
Well, thank you very much for joining us in the commentary booth. Congratulations on, of course, a fantastic result in race 1 and a good battle as well in race 2. Congrats on your season as a whole. Of course, before we let you go, are there any shout outs you want to give out to the YouTube chat?
I'll shout out to my dad who was in this race. He's been testing quite a lot in this past week on this track, and he's found a setting that has instantly made him 3-4 tenths faster. So he's instantly into the top 10. Obviously, I think it was P6 in qualifying. Then came in.
Almost got you.
Yeah, almost
I
got
can
me.
hear his. That's
And then
Grant Melly you're talking about in the background as well.
Came in lap 1 and lost it, unfortunately. And yeah, it's just needs to work on his racecraft and experience, but he'll get there.
Fantastic qualifying as well inside the top 6, so definitely not bad going for him at all. The pace was there, of course, for both of you. Congrats, of course, to the pair of you for what has been a fantastic season. Take care, and hopefully we'll see you back for future rounds.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Awesome stuff. Hayden Miller then, of course, next. Was the first of our 2 interviews. We are now just going to drag in the boss man himself, Kieran Sharp. What could have been this evening? Of course, led every lap apart from the last one in race 1, and then just wasn't able to glue as well as Santa Maria did in race 2. Pretty much summed up your entire season with 2 P2s.
Oh, savage. Yeah. It was hard in race 1 with the strength of the slipstream. I think I had the opportunity to maybe break away, but I think I made a mistake in the hairpin in the middle, which allowed him to get back in the tow. But yeah, it was really hard. You had to make sure your exits were good, being at the front. But yeah, I'm happy to at least help P2. So I think Hayden easily could have tried to even take that off me if he really went for something. Yeah, race 2 was also good. I think getting a feel for what tyre to be on, and I think I made a bit more improvement than Fuji in the wet, but yeah, still not quite on like David's level, who was pounding in the laps.
And I mean, summarise your season as a whole as well, because of course that race 1 was as close as you got to a win, but without taking to the top step, you were within contention for the championship all the way through. And you were on the podium, I think, every round bar 1, which was your drop week. I mean, there are a lot of positives to take from season 2 for sure.
Yeah, I'd say just consistency. Like with these kind of sprint formats, you could just be like some that just go for really good results, and you have some bad ones. But I think just being in the points at the top end consistently can reward you, and I think it shows.
Talk to us about plans as well, potentially maybe for season 3. What's in the pipeline for the future of this championship?
Bit of a debate whether stick with the open wheel kind of stuff, or maybe go to something more GT.
I think we lost
choice
there for a second there. Sorry, you said. I thought you were just cutting off in the broadcast. Or perhaps go to GT3. You said maybe, or GTs.
Yeah, so bit of a debate between F4 cars still. I think there's a few of us that really enjoy them, but I think possibly going something like GT4 that maybe is a bit more driver friendly, allows a bit more room of error for some people, and I think it could be just as good in maybe a similar format. Who knows? But it's something that everyone's going to be discussing, and hopefully we'll have something up really soon.
IndyCar with wet weather tires. Come on.
He said user friendly.
Okay.
I don't think IndyCar is particularly user. I mean, if F4 isn't user friendly, I would not get into an IndyCar. Right. Absolutely not. Kieran Sharp, of course, well done for your results this evening. Well done for a fantastic championship. Of course, P2 in the end of things. Of course, before we let you go, absolutely thank you for joining us in the commentary booth and all your hard work behind the scenes. Is there any shout outs you want to give?
To all the drivers, especially the ones that maybe know they're not going to be at the front, but they give it their best. And I think some people made some really good improvements there, especially like Grant. He wasn't even sure of entering because he thought he wouldn't be able to hold up on the grid. But I think he's been a good addition. And to you guys as well for covering it each week in, week out.
Awesome stuff. Well, Kieran Sharp, absolutely just going to reiterate again, fantastic set of results. Not quite to the top step. I'll just reiterate that bit once more as well. But again, a lot of consistency with the podiums and some amazing battles all the way through. Ladies and gentlemen, that is unfortunately going to wrap up our coverage for the Sim Racing Collective F4 Sprint Championship. The second season, of course, that took to it. Time did fly. 6 rounds, 12 races that started all the way back in Snetterton before we fought our way around the world. To Sebring, to Oschersleben, Fuji, Oran Park, and today at the Hockenheimring. Myself, Zach Sweeney, Dean Biggles has been alongside me in the commentary booth. We've had help as well from James Parfitt throughout the series. Of course, thank you to everyone that's been watching along both on JP Broadcasting and on the Sim Racing Collective YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, turn the bell on, all that snazzy jazz on both respective channels. They both equally deserve your support. Keep an eye out for future championships as part part of the TSRC, go look them up on the SimGrid page, get yourself in the Discord, and we might well see you out on track. But for myself and Dean in the booth, take care. We'll see you next time. It's goodbye for now.